Hey team, so I'm going to go through the Kipping Bar Pullover, and I call it Kipping because for the CrossFit Games variation, you don't kind of have to get your chin over the bar before you go around the bar. You're able to just kind of kick round, use momentum. You don't have to get your chin over the bar, you just have to lock out the top. Whereas for the IF3 variation, your chin has to come above the bar before you then come around and lock out the top. So I think the best place to start is with where do you jump up from? Okay, so in a second, Phil is going to drop down. Here he is. All right. So you can see then he was like a step away from being at the bar. So when I say a step, it's probably like a foot. All right. I'll move this up here out of the way too. So you can see here, so he's probably like a foot away. So he just takes a small step back before he then goes to jump up to the bar. All right. So that's where we would suggest that you jump up to the bar from. And obviously from that position, when you go to jump up from behind the bar, you'll automatically end up in this very slight arch position, okay, which is the position that we want, because we need to kick through from this arch position into a hollow. So you can see here he's jumped up from behind the bar, and it's like I say, we're reaching forward and his feet still kind of being behind him at this point. Is in this arch position, and he stays in this position until he gets past vertical with the bar. So at this point, he's going to switch. He's going to kick through, and he's going to kind of switch past the hollow and use that momentum that he's creating with kicking through with his legs to go through the rep. Now you'll notice here, Phil Roy also has a bit of a bend in his arms, so it's like a small, like strict pull up, or the start of a strict pull up. Now, if you were super efficient at doing kipping bar pullovers, you'll be able to do this part of the movement with straight arms. So you probably see, if you got a gymnast to do this, they'd be able to do this with straight arms, but because they can create tension through the body while keeping straight arms. Phil obviously has to bend his arms a little bit to get a little bit of tension, so some of you might have to do that as well. Worth playing around with what you can do. Obviously means we're just doing that little strict pull-up. It might just be using a little bit more energy, fatiguing his biceps, fatiguing his pulling muscles a little bit more. But like I say, horses for courses. So like I say, coming back to it, so he's got to vertical with the bar, and he's still in this slight arch, but he's began to kick through. So there'll be quite a bit of light action here. He's kicked through, his legs will be really straight, you can't see in this clip. But with them staying pretty straight most of the way through the movement, it gives him enough momentum to easily be able to get on top of the bar. All right, so those are the first two things: is start a step back from the bar, you jump up into the arch, then you kick through. And look how easy that looks. Okay, it makes that look super easy. All right. So those are the first two things. Step away from the bar, jump into the arch, stay nice and long, and then kick through. You might have to bend your arms. You will do at some point, just to make sure that you get your hips into the bar. Okay, gets the hips into the bar nice and easily there. So if we watch that last bit back, really easy. Okay, just going to do one more for us. All right, so let's go on to linking reps now. Okay then, so linking reps. All right, so Phil Roy, you can see nicely how the position. So obviously, like I said before, he has to bend his arms to make sure he gets those hips into the bar. So yeah, coming on to linking reps. So you'll see as he's dropping down here, he's roughly got a 90-degree angle at his elbows as he's dropping down initially. All right. Some people feel like they need to push back more to get a bit more momentum, but as long as you're dropping down in this, arch position, slight arch position, it's going to make things much, much easier. Because if we go back to his start position, this is pretty much the same position he had when he jumped up. So obviously we want to create that again when we're dropping down for this next rep. So that's the main thing we want to focus on when we're dropping down, is dropping down in this arch position. Because obviously when we get to it, so he's still in an arch here, when he hits vertical, he's going to kick through with his legs again. Nice straight legs, a little bit of bend in his arms. And again, he makes it look super, super easy, which is probably frustrating for a lot of you. All right. You can see there, the other little thing that he does, notice on that rep. So I think they call this in gymnastics a spring off as well. So you can see here, he does a little kind of kick back to help him get into that position a little bit easier. So here it is again. There you go. So he just kind of flicks his legs back to help him get into that arch position a little bit easier. Locks out. Real speed. And then he just moves his legs back ever so slightly to go into that arch position before he drops down to go into his next rep. Okay, so he's kind of flicking back away from the bar a little bit. I think if he was to try and speed this up, as soon as he's locked out on the top, you'll see his legs sometimes swing a little bit underneath him. He would want to get into that arch position as soon as he's locked out to then be able to drop into the next rep. That's how he would look to speed these up a little bit more. All right, but yeah, Philroy's pretty efficient at these, pretty good at these, so I thought it'd be a good example to show you. Hope this is informative, but to summarize and break it down, one, start roughly a foot away from the bar, so take a big step back or a moderate step back to jump up into that bar in an arch position. You're going to kick through with straight legs and have a slight bend in your arms, and that should help you get your hips into the bar. When you go to link reps, you might want to do the little flick back with your feet to make sure that you drop down in that arch position, and then it's just the same thing again. You stay in the arch, but when you hit vertical, you kick through with your legs. All right. Hopefully you find that helpful. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop us a message and we'll answer them.